we should just dig right in,
Yeah,
right? First of all,
we've got
how's your morning?
morning is great. Yeah, it's good
Good.
morning. Yeah, how about yours?
Well, we have a new puppy.
Oh, we do too, by the way. He's right
You
here.
too?
Yeah,
Oh my
wonderful. Come
God.
over. Come here, buddy. He's like relaxing on the couch. We just rescued. How's it going?
It's going
Yeah.
well. We can talk. I'll talk to you offline. Yeah,
Yes.
she's great.
So
Um,
fun. I love that.
so hi everybody. I'm so
It's
happy
my
to see
puppy.
you
Sorry.
all.
Sorry about the moving.
That's okay.
Okay, there. He's gonna stop.
That's
Sorry. The garbage are
okay.
leaving.
Hi everybody. Okay, so we're talking about such fun things, sex. But it goes deeper than that. And I first want to just introduce you to everybody who doesn't already know you. So Dr. Rikki is a board certified physician and turned intimacy and relationship coach. She's absolutely amazing and she's dedicated her entire life at this point to helping people break free of limiting beliefs around sex and self pleasure. And so I want everyone to learn more about your background and first of all, I want to ask you, can you tell us what led you? Because you and I had a conversation before this, and we talked about your childhood and the way you were raised with your brothers and the societal norms that you were instilled in you when you were young. And I want to learn why you took the route to become a physician. And then I also want to talk about the life altering health scare that really changed the trajectory of your entire life, your career, your family. But first, let's get into
Wow.
what led you to becoming a doctor.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was raised in a really traditional family, and I think that so mom stayed home, and then I was born into a world with and dad worked, and I was born into a world with three brothers, and a lot of the way that I was raised was how can we be of service to men, and be kind of these homemakers and smile and make sure everything looks perfect and so it was an interesting way to be raised in a world where I also wanted to like be equal to like I was being raised with three brothers and I wanted to be equal to them.
Yeah,
And then I think I've always had this desire to be of service, to be a healer. That's always innately been in me. So as I started to look at career paths as I grew older, so first of all, I always was trying to prove that I mattered through my grades, through my successes at work, and so that I could be seen
right.
by my parents, right? Like, how can I prove to them that I matter, even though I was born into this world with a vulva and a vagina and ovaries
Right.
and not, a penis and testicles? So how can I prove that I matter too? And so I constantly was making good grades and trying to show them how much I mattered. And then ultimately, when it came time for me to decide what I wanted to do for a career, combining my desire to be of service, to be a healer, and then also to prove that, becoming a physician is not, sorry about that, is not an easy thing, right? Like it's one of the hardest professions that there is. So I was like, I'm going to prove to them that I can do it. And even as I was applying to med school, I remember my parents looking at me and being like, "You're not going to do it," and I was like, "No, I am." Yeah.
Wow. Can you tell us you have an incredible story and I was just like so inspired by it. And I just want to hear, can you tell us, you were married, you had two kids, you lived in a
Mhm.
beautiful home. Tell us about what life altering health scare
Yeah,
really came about in your life and then changed everything.
absolutely. So I was going on about life, living it, thinking, well, I have everything that I was told would make me happy in life, right? Like I have the job, I have the kids, I have the house, I have the husband. I've got everything that should bring me happiness according to what society told me. Only I was completely feeling miserable on the inside, and I was afraid to see it because I felt like I should just appreciate that I had this great life. So I was very much in denial about it. I went on antidepressants to kind of numb myself out and really be able to be happy with my circumstances. And then in September 2021, I went in to see a doctor for a follow up for a mass that I had in my right breast. And I said to her, you know what? I can't keep coming back every 6 months. Like, I'm a mom, I'm a doctor.
Right.
I'm too busy to like come into an appointment every 6 months. Will you just go ahead and biopsy it so we know it's nothing? And then I can return to normal screening. So she biopsied it. She called me 2 days later. She said, I have good news. It's not cancer. And I have bad news. There's like a 5 to 20% chance it could be cancer and it has to come out immediately.
Okay.
And so a week later, I went to the OR. I had the mass removed. And at first, it was just like trying to quiet the monkey mind of like, what if I have cancer? And I knew I would survive, but I knew that it would still be an experience that altered my life and my ability to show up for my friends, for my children, for my family, for myself. And so I had a lot of time to think. I had like a full week before the results came back to say it's not cancer, it's a high risk lesion. And in that week, I came out of it and I was like, this can't be my life.
Yeah.
It can't be my life. The first thing that happened was right before I went into the surgery, I was like, I have a higher purpose and it's not what I'm doing. Like, I'm meant to reach a broader audience and I don't really know what it is yet. And I submitted my resume to be the CEO of a women's health company. And I made it through many rounds of the interview and then ultimately had to walk away from that opportunity because I was going through my divorce and I really wanted to be more present with my children and for myself. But that was the first thing that happened. And then I always say when I was under anesthesia, angels must have come to me and just been like, you got to start clearing all that's not in alignment. And so the next thing I did was the next, a week later, once I knew it wasn't cancer, I went to my ex-husband and I said, all right, I want to go to therapy. I scheduled us an appointment and I gave him plenty of time. I scheduled for a nanny to be with the kids. I did it after work hours. And I showed up and it was just me. And so in that moment, it was a
Wow.
big reality check. And
Wow.
I actually always view it as a gift.
Wow.
Like, what a gift that he didn't show up because it gave me permission to start choosing myself.
I want to talk
Um,
about also the fact that you didn't. I mean, this is a really taboo topic in a way, in regards to the fact that people don't want to talk about it, I think, in their own relationships because they don't want to be judged. But if you're comfortable talking, and I know you are,
mhm.
talking about just the fact that you didn't have a physical
Yeah.
relationship with your husband for a long time.
Yeah.
Um, and you also didn't explore self pleasure until you were 37.
Yes.
And I want to talk about what like light bulb went off here for you to like become such an expert, right? Like
Yeah.
where tell us more about that journey.
Absolutely. So for me in my marriage, sex was not like a big priority. And so we lacked any sort of physical intimacy. And in addition to that, I was looking to my ex-husband to be that service for me. Like I was like, I can only experience pleasure if I do it with a partner. I didn't think that I could experience it on my own. And so as part of this coming out of my marriage, and I was like, wait, why have I been so avoidant of pleasure? This is my journey to like dive deep into not only having like a deep self-love with myself, but in that a deep ability to be in pleasure with myself, to be in joy. Like, what a beautiful expression of self-love. And so I came out and I just immediately bought, like, I never masturbated, I never touched myself. And I immediately bought, like, you know, 5 sex toys because I was like, they're all coming. I'm going to explore. I'm going
Oh
to
my
have fun. There's
God.
no wrong way to self pleasure. There's no wrong way to masturbate. So I always recommend that people explore and see what works for them. Toys, no toys, it's all
Yeah.
good. Everything is fair game. And so I decided I was going to have the best sex of my life with myself before I allowed myself to have like mind blowing sex with anyone else. I wanted to be able to do that with myself first so that I could know my likes and my dislikes and be able to share that. And along that journey, I was sitting under, in July of 22, I was sitting under was it like a meteor shower with my girlfriend in Jackson Hole, and I was just babbling on and on and on. Now I'm like totally free to talk about sex. I'm connecting with my body, and I'm talking nonstop about sex. And at this point, I still knew that I had a higher purpose, but I wasn't sure what it was. And my friend Michelle looked at me and she goes, "I think you're meant to be a sex
Oh
therapist."
my God.
And I was like, "That's it."
Oh my
And
gosh.
so then I looked into the two routes of coaching versus therapy and figured with all my credentials, I'd take the sex therapy certificate programs and do the coaching programs and go the coaching route rather than having to go through all the years of schooling and the re-credentialing and all of that. And so that's what led me into
What
this work.
that's incredible. One of the things you said when we talked was how you can heal limiting beliefs and you can manifest during orgasm and having
Yes,
sex. And I'm just like, how do you do that? And I think
yes,
everybody would love to know
absolutely.
what I mean, that's not for beginners in my opinion, but
Yeah.
maybe it is. Maybe that is like the beginning. So can you tell us more
So,
about that?
absolutely. So, okay, first of all, I just want to say that in order to be able to start doing that work, you have to have acceptance. Like, you have to accept your body the way it is, accept your expression of pleasure the way it is, and be comfortable like in your skin, right? And so for some people, there's a few steps before we get to the
Okay.
healing trauma and the manifestation. And it's so simple. What I tell people is start by just caressing your body in the morning and saying some nice words to yourself, like, oh, your body, like my body is beautiful. I love the way I like cup your breasts. I love the way my breasts feel this morning.
Yeah.
Hold your heart and pour love in and just really caress your body, like love yourself so deeply. And then I also will have clients do it in the shower and do it in front of a mirror. So it's like this constant pouring in of love, and it starts to rewire the ick that some people have because of the way that our society has, created it and really like created this kind of normalized view of what sexy looks like, right?
Yeah.
But sexy is just sexy and it comes in all varieties.
Yeah.
So connecting with your body first so that you're in a place where you're like, I am so sexy. I am so alive. I am so deserving of this pleasure. And then from there, going into, hey, there's something I want to heal around this. And there's a simple example. So first of all, our fear pathway is outbeat by our pleasure pathway in our nervous systems. So the idea is that if you're bringing pleasure into your body, and you can do it for healing something, you can do it around uh, you can do it around self pleasure first. You can always do it with a partner too.
Yeah.
So, an example would be somebody who maybe doesn't feel safe to orgasm, right?
Okay.
So, maybe it's linked to early trauma. Maybe it's linked to just a parent telling them that pleasure was wrong. It could be for many different things. But okay, it is not safe for me to orgasm, would be the belief. And in that, you'd start to slowly allow yourself to experience pleasure. So you'd get out the oils, you'd put on the music, you'd light the candles, and you'd go in with an intention. You can even state it out loud at the beginning, like, I am so deserving of pleasure and orgasm. It is safe for me to have pleasure and orgasm,
Yeah.
right? It is
Yeah.
safe for me to be in my full, like, wild womanly expression.
Yeah.
And then after you claim that, you can start again with the simple caressing and just touching your body. And then you can get out toys or hands and just start touching yourself, paying attention to what feels good and what doesn't. When you notice your body is relaxed, really stay with that and state out loud, like, I am safe. I am safe in this pleasure. As soon as the contraction comes, because if you have a belief that you are not safe in pleasure, you are not safe to orgasm, contraction will likely come on again. And that's going to be in the form of the heart tightening, your inability to sound, your body closing up. So you'll start to notice different things, like maybe your shoulders come forward, and you'll know your body best. So when that starts to happen, you'll allow yourself to feel it a little bit and say, okay, this is welcome. The fear is welcome, and I am safe. So you get to start moving between the safety and the fear, letting the fear just be there. So it doesn't have to be changed, it doesn't have to be moved, but it will automatically release if you just allow it to be there. So that's one way in your solo pleasure. And it's a practice and you just keep doing it. And sometimes you need to be guided in it. But that is one way. Another thing is that I brought my handy dandy jade egg here, which
Amazing.
yeah, so you can put a little string on the end. It
Okay.
comes without the string, but I put it on there for you to see. And so the jade egg is from the ancient Taoist tradition, and it is believed to basically clear energy and harness your sexual energy and start doing some massive healing work. So you can do your practice with the jade egg in, and it's believed to create like more sensitivity at the cervix, store more of your sexual energy in these kind of powerful places, which I can talk about as well, which is basically the solar plexus and the lower dantian, which is the space between the belly button and your root, essentially, and your perineum.
Yeah.
That space right there. And when you store energy there, you're basically storing creation, empowerment, being seen and alive in your sexuality. But the idea is that you can do the work with the jade egg or without the jade egg, allowing yourself to move between safety and fear. And when you're in the safety, if you're able to bring yourself to orgasm in the safety, now your body's flooded with orgasm and safety, and it's flooded with the hormones that are like the feel
Right.
good hormones. And again, the
Right.
pleasure pathway outbeats the fear pathway. So now your body's flooded with like oxytocin and dopamine and endorphins, and you're in this complete bubble of safety that you have created.
I love
And
that.
you start associating, your nervous system automatically associates safety with pleasure. And then you can continue to do the practice. The more you do it, the more your nervous system gets wired for that.
That's amazing. That's a really good, I think, way to like start talking about the limiting beliefs, and everyone can follow you more to even get more information on
Mhm.
that too. There's so many different topics we want to talk about today. So whether it's sex after baby, how much is the normal amount to have sex? These are topics. Or foreplay. I'm a busy mom, and foreplay is typically something that I feel like no one has time for.
Mhm.
And so we can get to that too, and just give us some tips and tricks around that too. And then we also want to talk about the different types of orgasms that we have, because it's
Yes.
not just penetration. There's so many different ways to orgasm, and I think a lot of women feel bad about themselves because they don't orgasm through penetration, and so they think something's wrong with them. Or I think this is a good topic to get into, is
Yeah.
just the different ways to orgasm. And then I don't think you even said yourself that you not have an orgasm until you were like 37, something like that,
Yeah, I
or
didn't really know what an orgasm was. So when I
right.
came out and I started doing all my exploration, I was like, oh, this is what an orgasm is.
Right.
And so there was a lot of closing and closed-mindedness around sex for me. And when I could open my mind to, first of all, everything is normal in sex, everything, as long as there's no crossing of consent and boundaries. So like consent always has to be there and clear boundaries. And as long as that's there and being respected, everything is normal, right? It is all acceptable. It is
Yeah.
all healthy. It is all within range of normal. So that is the big message
Okay.
that I want people to understand, because they might think like, oh, but if I like to be spanked during sex, that means that I like pain. So there must be something wrong with me. And why do I want to be punished? And actually, it can be a really powerful experience where you're rewriting a story, and now you're in control of the spanking, that when maybe you may not even realize it, but when you go way back to when you were like a really young child and you were spanked and you had no control over it, one, you got attention from your parents, so that maybe felt good. But two, you were in deep fear and you weren't able to like, have any sort of control over that situation. Now you get to be like in a superpower situation where you're in
Mm,
deep pleasure and you're asking for it and you're the one in charge of the spanking, and you can actually start deriving pleasure and joy from the spanking, right? So
that's really
it's a little
interesting.
segue.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk, so we talked a little bit about the different types of orgasms, and I have my vulva puppet here. So
There
I'll
you go.
just also, in addition to like all sex being normal, as long as there's consent and boundaries, all vulvas are normal. So I like to say that the vulva is like our thumbprint. It is so unique to you. And there's I think you can Google it. It's called like Vulva Gallery. They may also have an Instagram account. You can look at all the different vulvas look like. So there is a huge range again of normal. So your vulva, first of all, is normal. Your vulva is beautiful and praise your vulva. So grab a mirror, look at your vulva and love the way that she is.
We
And
have a
just to
lot
tell
of
you,
men joining here, and I think this is such a great topic for them to be listening in
yes,
because we're talking about the different ways to orgasm, and there's about five or so.
yes,
So Dr. Rikki, keep going. I just want for anybody who's new was joining and listening, I wanted to tell them.
yes. So here's the vulva. The vulva is just the outside the outside part that we see. You've got your inner labia. You've got the outer labia, which are here. This is the clitoral hood, and then this is the head of the clitoris or the glans. But the clitoris has a whole body, so it's got a body, legs, and bulbs. And I'm just going to show you
That to
that.
me was even like I was like, I didn't know that, you know?
So when we think of orgasm, we usually think of the clitoral orgasm, which is, yes, one of the most popular ways to orgasm. And a few things about it is that you can orgasm just from the glands, just from the head here, or you can orgasm from these parts. And the way that you access it is really by kind of playing with the inner labia, or even inside. This would be where the vagina is. It's a tube, right? So even inside the vagina, you can see you can start accessing these parts of the
Got it.
clitoris.
Okay.
So, clitoral orgasm, different ways you can orgasm from a clitoris, either direct stimulation or stimulating these other parts, the bulbs or the legs, from inside the vagina or on the labia. Okay. This orgasm is typically considered the one where there's massive contraction of the pelvic floor muscles and it's kind of that pulsing feeling. That is the clitoral orgasm.
Okay.
Very rare to have a clitoral orgasm through penetration alone. So if you are only having penis in vagina, it's going to be unlikely that you have a clitoral orgasm, and it does depend on a few things. So the clitoris can be lower down, closer to the urethra. So this is the urethra right there, this little hole, that's where we pee from. This is the introitus, the opening to the vagina. So if the clitoris is lower down, it's going to be easier to orgasm with penetration because you're going to be able to rub it against your partner during sex, right? It's just the way that it is. And most women do not orgasm with penetration alone. So bringing in manual stimulation can be really fun. Vibrators. I have like a good little clitoral vibrator here that I could show you. I've got a bunch of toys. Like this. This is like a great little vibrator. It's made by Lilo. And you can use this to stimulate the clitoris. It can go inside. So it sits in like this and then it rubs right up against the clitoris.
Got
So
it. Okay.
that's a really fun one for people. And so that's the clitoral orgasm, but there are other types of orgasms.
Yeah.
So there's the G-spot orgasm, which is one of my
I
favorites.
don't think most
So
people even know what that is, to be
yeah.
honest.
So the G spot is right inside the vagina. So it's going to be through the introitus, right inside the vagina. And you typically have to make a come hither motion to stimulate it. It feels a little bit like a hard walnut, and then it gets more spongy as you get aroused and turned on. Now, if somebody goes for the G spot and you're like not turned on, body's not welcoming it, it's not going to feel good at all. It's just uncomfortable. So it does require arousal beforehand, and I would actually really recommend arousal before any sort of insertions, that your body is a full yes before anything enters.
Yes.
And then the G spot, when stimulated, becomes big and spongy and soft, and it feels like a massive relaxation. And then there can be squirting with this orgasm. So it's a massive release of fluids. It is not urine, it's a composition of many different fluids, but it is not like you're peeing. And it is a beautiful release. These orgasms, again, because there's a massive relaxation, it doesn't feel like that the waves of contractions. And it also can be associated with emotional release. So like crying, laughing. So that's that. G-spot
Everybody, for
orgasm.
those of you who have just joined, we're talking about the 5 different ways to orgasm. And right now, we just talked about the clitoral orgasm, and now we're talking about the G spot. So I just wanted everyone to know where we were. Okay, keep going.
Yes. So I'm going
Okay.
to move on to the cervical orgasm.
Okay.
This is one of my favorites.
And if
So
anybody missed anything, you can always reach out to me or Rikki, and we can get you all the information that you missed if you are looking for it. Okay, go ahead.
all right, so the cervix, this is the best model that I have. I need a better one. But this is right here. This is sitting inside the actually like this. This is the vagina. So this is the canal, the vaginal canal
Okay.
is this tube. It goes in at the very top of the tube. So right here is a donut-shaped object, and that is the cervix.
Okay.
This is uterus, and then these are the ovaries. And you actually, I mean, this is just extra right here, but these are like fallopian tubes and ovaries.
Okay.
So just a little anatomy lesson there. So
Yes.
the cervix
Yeah.
is the, let me go to outer space, let me reach the divine orgasms. It is where there's a massive, massive stimulation of the vagus nerve. So when the penis or toy massages this part, so this is a really good toy for reaching the cervix, it's a wand.
Okay.
Um, and when you do that and you just massage, 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 it's stimulating the vagus nerve.
So
And
where are
it,
you going into? Where is the
yeah,
penetration happening? Can you show us?
yeah. So it's essentially like
Okay.
this. So this
Okay.
is
Okay.
vulva, introitus goes through the introitus. Whoop, there we go.
Okay.
And
Got it.
then it sits here.
Okay.
So let me move this, actually, there we go, the clitoris. There we go. So it sits right in there.
Got
Can you
it.
see that?
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
And
So
anybody
that,
has any questions, feel free to put it in the chat. Okay. Keep going.
so basically, it's a massage against the cervix and it starts to stimulate the vagus nerve. And when you have this orgasm, it's like you've gone to outer space, you've met new parts of yourself, the wild woman's release. These are the roorgasms, also the laughgasms, the crygasms. And it's the meeting that when people are like, oh my gosh, I met the divine in sex, I experienced complete oneness, that is the cervical orgasm.
Okay. Wow.
So another type of orgasm is, I'm going to go anal and then whole body.
Okay.
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 So anal orgasm. So this is a little butt plug.
Okay.
So some people are keen on anal sex, some people are not. But anal orgasms can be really beautiful. And if you're not into it and your partner is and you're wanting to try it, definitely start slow. Always start slow, no matter what. You're going to want to use lube, plenty of lube. I cannot stress lube, lube,
What's your
lube.
favorite lube, Dr. Rikki?
Yes, this is my favorite lube, and it's actually great for anal, but for anything really. You just can't use it with
What's the
latex
name of it?
condoms. It's Foria, and I
Okay.
actually, let me see if I can put it in the comments here. I have a, well, I have, so if anybody's interested, I have a discount code for this. I don't have it with me right now. But if you go to their website and you put Rikki Mullen in the checkout where the code is, you'll get
You just
10% off. So
write
this
Rikki Mullen or Rikki Mullen 10. Do you
Rikki
remember?
Rikki
Rikki
Mullen, all
Mullen.
caps.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
And so it's coconut oil based. It's got CBD in it. It creates high sensitivity. It's great for all kind of sex, self pleasure, and anal. You just can't use it with latex condoms because it's oil based. So oil based lubes will break down condoms.
You
So
learn something new
anal.
every day.
So anal orgasms are coming from behind, go slow, allow lots and lots of lube. And you may want to start with the butt plug. Don't know where I just put it. Oh, here it is. You may want to start with the butt plug, allowing the anus to slowly dilate. And you want to go really slow so that there's not pain. So if there's ever pain or discomfort, you should pull back and stop. So
Are you doing that while having sex? Or are you putting that in alone? Like, how's that?
yeah, you can do either. So
Okay.
you can play with it, like something that, some people like to do is if they like power play, then the partner that's in power might be like, oh, I want you to go to the grocery store wearing a butt plug and then come home all like juicy and excited and we can have fun. Or like, you're gonna like vacuum the house in the butt plug
Okay.
and then you get to jump into bed together and have, it's kind
Okay.
of like fun and sexy and you're
Right.
building on it. And then as far as the final orgasm, it is the whole body orgasm. So this is the orgasm that when you have it, you feel it going like an energy from your toes to your head. It's almost like you're having all the orgasms at once. And the way you know you've had a whole body orgasm is one, you feel the sensation throughout your entire body. But two, the biggest thing with the whole body orgasm is that you walk away feeling like a superstar. So
Okay.
these are the times where you walk away from sex and you're like, I mean, I'll give you a personal example. One time I had sex with my now husband. He wasn't my husband at the time. And I went to play tennis after. And I'm an okay tennis player. I'm not great. I play because I love it, not because
I
I'm
love
good.
where this story is going.
And I went onto the court that day and I start playing with my tennis pro. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm Venus Williams, I'm Serena Williams. And then I went to like, school pickup and I picked the kids up from school and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like the mom that's on top of it. Not even joking, like everybody stopped me and was like, what are you doing? You're glowing. And I was like, yeah, I know I'm glowing.
Oh my God, that is the best.
Orgasms,
Wait,
yeah.
so
Like
wait, but I think I missed how do you get that?
So it is a full surrender. So there's no one specific way to get it, but it is a full surrender. And
Okay.
in my belief, although there's many different ways to get it, it's kind of a combination of stimulating all the different types of orgasms. So it's like you're having the clitoral and the G spot, or a combination of them, right? So it might be like clitoral and cervical, or clitoral and G spot. And when you do that, it's such a surge of energy through your system that you just feel it like waves throughout the body. So the orgasm almost continues for the rest of the day.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. If anybody wants any links or anything to Ricky's favorite sex toys, we can absolutely get those too. So
Yeah.
just drop it in the chat. Just say, I want it, and we'll get it to you. Um, so foreplay, right? So
Yes.
this is something that I think at least my friends don't do. We don't have time. We're just like, your kids are in the other room sometimes, or like wherever, you do it whenever you can. And so I
Yes.
think what we want to know is, how can you incorporate foreplay and spice things up?
Yeah.
And then I also want to talk about that and sex dates, because
Yeah.
that was a really, I loved that. So we could
Mhm.
start talking, give us some tips about foreplay, and then let's talk
Great.
about sex dates.
I love it. So foreplay is everything leading up to the
Right.
sex. So it doesn't only have to be in the bedroom. It can be the way that, when you're maybe getting the kids out the door for school in the morning, your husband comes up to you and puts, his hand on the small of your back, or whispers something sweet in your ear, or the way that you might lean over a counter and give your husband like a cute little look, like, hey, I see you. Do you see me?
Yeah.
Right. So it's all the little subtle things. It could be a love note that you leave. And it could be it in large part is all in the planning of the sex date, which I'll speak about too.
Okay. And you
But
also talked about, like, sharing fantasies, and
yeah,
I
so
think that
I'm gonna,
that's hard for some people to do.
yeah. So, okay. So first of all, with the foreplay and not having time, I want to address that. I want to address the fantasies. I'm going to write some of this down just so that I don't
Okay.
forget. So it's the foreplay and time, the fantasies, and you'll remind me if there's anything
Yeah.
else. But and then the sex date. Yeah. So okay. So foreplay and time. I don't have time. All right. So this is the biggest, like, in when it comes to sex, we have kind of this dual processing system with our nervous system. So we have accelerators and brakes, right? And the accelerators are our nervous systems are taking everything in around us and they're like, ooh, that's sexy. That turns me on. So it could be, it's everything. It's all five senses plus your thoughts, your beliefs, and yeah, and the stories that you're telling yourself. So it's something like you wake up in the morning and you roll over in bed and your partner, rubs their hand against your face and it's, I don't know, it just turns you on. The smell, the way your partner smells, the way your partner touched you, the context of being in bed, accelerator, right? We're going to have
Yeah.
a morning quickie maybe. Um, and brakes are everything that, but at the same time that we have accelerators, we also have brakes. And brakes are our nervous system's taking in everything around us using all five senses, plus our thoughts, stories, and beliefs. I'm tired, I'm exhausted,
Yeah.
I'm stressed, I'm depressed. Those are like the biggest killers to sex.
Yeah.
And they slam the brakes on. So how do we get around the brake of I don't have time?
Yes.
Right? Because you need actually the perfect balance for the accelerators to be on and the brakes to be off to have like that mind-blowing, yes, we've got it sex.
Right.
Okay. And then actually the next thing I want to say is that there are two things that every couple needs to have that. So there's research on this to have extraordinary sex. The basis is a really good friendship. I don't know why I have balloons. The basis is a really good friendship. And then the second thing is to prioritize sex. So again, that I don't have time,
Right.
right? So how do we turn down the brakes of I don't have time? A great way to do that is to schedule a sex date. So this is a 3+ hour time where you are dedicated just to your intimacy, to your physical intimacy. Oops, did I pause? Are you there? Can you hear me? Okay.
My you guys, I have a timer for when I have been on Instagram too long and it went off, so I just ignored it.
Okay.
But that's what just what
Love
happened. So
it.
keep going. The sex
Okay.
date.
So it's same time, same day, every week. And the reason you do this is because then it's non-negotiable. It's not like, oh, we're going to move it here and then you never get to it. It's actually set. What this allows for is anticipation throughout the week. So now you've got foreplay throughout the week. Okay. You're arranging for the nanny to take the kids to the park in the middle of the day on Saturday. So you and your husband have 3 hours, or a mother's helper to come take the kids to a nearby park. Whatever you're doing, you're making the time. Or the kids are going down for a nap and they've got white noise on, or the kids are going to bed, if they're really young, they're going to bed and they've got white noise on, and you're in another room. So you have all the fun now for this sex date.
And can we talk about what is a sex date? Like, what do you do within this date
Yeah.
that's different from going out to dinner or going to the movies? Like, what is it?
So it is a time that is fully dedicated to your physical intimacy and connection. So it's undivided attention. We're not going to be distracted by other things. We're going to be mindful and intentional and with each other and with the sensations and with the experience. And so I have a couples playbook that I give to my couples that work with me, and it guides them through different practices. And one of the practices is a fantasy share that I love for couples to do during their sex date, which is I'm going to be completely intimate with you, and not just intimate, but vulnerable. So I'm going to share my deepest fantasies with you. And if I don't know what they are, I'm also going to be with, I'm going to allow ideas to come forward. I'll be vulnerable and intimate with myself. So basically in being intimate with yourself, you're being completely authentic with yourself.
Right.
And then in being intimate and vulnerable with another, so allowing that vulnerability, you're being authentic, and you're allowing the veil to come down, so you get to see all of me. I'm not just authentic in myself, I'm sharing that my authenticity with you,
I
right? And
love
that
I love the idea of everybody, like, I'm sure everybody would want this couples playbook, because I think this is like a really hard like it's, it's hard for me. It's hard for a lot of my friends to share those things that you think about like that. There's so many reasons why, and I don't know why it's so hard, but like I would love, like, if you have even like just one or two tips you can share to get
Yeah.
it going.
So the more that you do it, the easier it will become. So the first time it's going to be really hard, and by time 5, it'll be easier and more
Right.
fun. And the idea is that you sit face to face with your partner, you're in this intentional setting, and you share. And one partner shares at a time. And as you share, there's just 3 rules. I think 3 rules. So there's the person speaking gets to speak without interruption, right? The person sharing, and anything is fair game. Again, there's no abnormal, there's nothing that's wrong. And the second rule is that it never has to happen. So fantasies are fantasies. We can play with them, we can work with them, we can
Right.
use them to get us aroused. They never have to happen. So if something totally freaks your partner out, that's okay, because your partner knows it never ever has to
Right.
happen.
Right.
And third rule is absolutely no judgment. So no like, ooh, because that will kill the vulnerability and
Yeah.
the intimacy in the relationship. But oh yeah, tell me more. Tell me more. You don't have to say you like it. You don't have to say you don't like it. You can just hear it. And then you swap.
Okay. I like that. I think
Yeah.
that's a really good way to just like build trust and a bond with each other for sure. Um, okay, so now that we've talked about all this such juicy stuff, I love that everything we've talked about. I want to talk about the things that plague some new moms, like how like sex after baby. And
Yeah.
like what would you say is the best way to start talking about sex, or your partner may want it a lot sooner than you. Like how do you coach a woman or a couple going through that?
Yeah, so it's deeply personal and there's many different reasons. And sometimes it's the woman and, sometimes it's the one that's given birth and sometimes it's the other partner. So it is deeply personal. So first I would ask the person who's in avoidance of the sex, who has like the strong brakes on, is why, right? And so some common reasons are, and it's not limited to this, but like one really common reason for women is I'm just getting my body
Yeah.
back. And two, I I'll say three common reasons. I'm just getting my body back. I don't feel sexy in my
Right.
body, right? Because your body's just gone through all these changes. And three, I am, and this is a really like usually unconscious one, is I am being touched all day long. And as soon as I put that baby down, the last thing I want to do is be touched. You are having all your touch needs
I
met.
think
And that it
this
doesn't have to,
applies honestly for people that haven't even just had a baby. This applies for just parenthood, like just
yes,
being touched out.
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Touched out, like it's so touched out that you're like, oh, it can't be touched anymore. So that's for women. And then for men, oftentimes it could be the being touched out, especially if they're doing a lot of the feeding and the caretaking and all of that. And another big, like really common one is the Madonna whore complex. So like once you become a mother, I can't view you in this way because if I have sex with you, then you're a whore and you're also the mother of my children, right?
Wow.
So it's
Wow.
really, and it's super psychological and it's really unconscious sometimes, but being really honest with yourself, like what is the reason? Like what are the stories that I'm telling myself when my body closes up and I don't want to be anywhere close to my partner touching me? Right. And just start journaling about it. Like, oh, it's because I'm like so tired and I can't imagine touching anybody, or like I have like milk that's like leaked all over me all
Right.
day,
Right.
right? Or I just like still feel pain down there.
So what do you tell the
So,
couples to how to start getting back there?
so there's this incredible thing is one, starting with the sex dates just for having the space to be together. And as you start the sex dates, just make it about massage at first. It doesn't have to be about sex. Like each partner in service to the other, and you have 6 weeks of just like the first 2 weeks are just one partner massages, the next week is the other partner massages. The next week after that is the other partner massages, and they can add in like yoni or penis massage, right? And then so you're slowly working your way back up to it, and that's building the anticipation, the excitement. You're going to hold off on sex until week 5 and 6 if you're ready. So that's one thing. The second thing is like as you're journaling about your stories and your beliefs, start to question them. So it's like similar to the Byron Katie work. It's, is this true? Like, is it absolutely true that I'm so touched out I can't connect with my partner?
Yeah.
Is that absolutely true? Is it absolutely true that if I have sex with my partner, I'm going to be even more exhausted and fatigued? I'm going to be even more drained. I'm going to be even more stretched and burned
Yeah.
out. So that's the other thing. And then if there's a partner that's feeling particularly burnt out, being able to ask for your needs, like being able to say, hey, I am really burnt out, but maybe if you just focused on pleasing me,
Right.
right? Like I could just lie there and you get full reign to do whatever you want to me. I'll tell you if something's a no. And I'm gonna lie there and I'm gonna just enjoy being spoiled, being pleasured, being adored, and you get to tell me all the amazing things, like the ways that you love my body, the ways that you love my smell, the
Yeah.
ways that you love the way that you know, to touch me.
Yeah.
And I get to just receive, and that will usually will open somebody up when they're at the burnout. But really questioning the beliefs that you're telling yourself
Yeah.
and then claiming a new story around it.
Yeah.
So I'm touched out, right? I can't deal with any more physical touch. Can be changed to, no, that's not true. Sex is connecting, it is pleasure filled, it is stress relieving, and it doesn't have to be every day. Like it can be when I want it, it can be once a week,
Well,
right?
that's a really,
Um,
really good segue into my last question for you.
mhm.
And I don't know that you have an answer for it, but I think what you could do is provide some clarity around the subject of what's the normal amount to have sex with your partner?
Yes.
And I think this is such a big question because I have friends that are having sex 3 days a week. I have friends who are having sex once a month. I have sex who are having even less than that. And I think, no one really wants to be honest about it because for what maybe they don't want to boast about how much, or maybe they don't want they to be judged for having too little. And I just, what is, tell us your definition of the normal amount to have sex.
Yeah. So again, when it comes to sex, everything is a spectrum and there is no normal as long as there's consent and boundaries.
Right.
So what's normal for you is what do you desire? So what do
Okay.
you desire when it comes to sex? And if you are totally cut off, right? So we say that you're having a low amount of sex if you're having sex 12 or less times a year. So when
Okay.
that if you're having sex less than 12 times a year,
Okay.
then then you may want to reach out to somebody like me or another
Okay.
sex therapist or sex coach to help you work out what is going on that's preventing you from claiming your birthright to pleasure, right?
Yeah.
From really having that. And then the question is, well, if you're not having sex with your partner, because I've had clients like this where they're not having sex with each other, but they're engaging in their own
Yes.
masturbation, right? So
Yes.
then it's like, well, why are you not connecting? And so there's so many reasons for
Is
that.
there too
And
much? This is like, actually, this is something I wanted to ask that I almost forgot to ask. Is because I know a lot of people who do this, but like, is there too much masturbation? Is can somebody masturbate too much?
uh only if it's affecting their ability to like work or function. So
Okay.
if they're not
So it's not
able,
gonna like mess with your ability to orgasm with your partner.
no, but
No.
our orgasms are in a neural pathway, and so if you're always orgasming the same way, you're going to program your system to only orgasm that way.
Mm.
So that's why another reason why it's fun to spice it up and switch it up and try different things because you're constantly teaching your nervous system new ways to have orgasms. So now you get to be multi-orgasmic in all the ways. So absolutely not. You can't masturbate too much. You can't your clitoris isn't going to go permanently numb from a vibrator. Your pleasure is your pleasure. You get to decide how you want to have it. You get to
Yeah.
know your likes and your dislikes. That is where the power is. So whatever works for you is great. If not having sex with your partner is becoming problematic for your relationship, which
Yeah.
oftentimes that is a problem in relationship because relationships have companionship and eroticism, and you need both to thrive. So if you don't have that eroticism, how do you get back to it, right? And if
Yeah.
you're constantly turning to the vibrator and away from your partner, the question is why? Why
Yeah.
am I constantly turning, or masturbation, right? Like, why am I constantly turning towards masturbation, independent masturbation, and away from my partner? And when you start to really get to the root of that stuff, you can actually move past it and you can get back to that extraordinary sex, even if you've never had it. And the reason I say that is because there was a big study where they looked at people who had had extraordinary sex, and the people in the study, on average, the first time in their life they experienced extraordinary sex was at age 55. So
Wow.
so it's here
That's
and it is extraordinary.
crazy.
Yes. You can
Wow.
access it before then, but there's like, even if you're like, but we've never had extraordinary sex, you can get there. I promise you. I've seen couples do it. It's amazing. There's more research than even the couples that I've seen
Yeah.
on it. So it is absolutely possible.
Dr. Rikki, you are amazing.
Yeah.
You gave us so much information. You gave us an anatomy lesson. You opened our eyes. I mean, just knowing like a barometer of the normal amount to have sex, all of these things are so helpful. We want to offer everybody who's here a chance to win 30 minutes with Dr. Rikki for a session with an intimacy and relationship coach, and something that could really help you in your relationship. Um, if you can drop your name in the chat right now, you will be one of the potential winners of this giveaway. You can also pick a product from Mama Soul. So, and if no one drops their name in the chat, we will pick you after and message you. But the goal here is you get to pick one product from Mama Soul, and you get 30 minutes free intimacy coach with Dr. Rikki. So, who?
And I have another
Oh, yeah.
offer, which is that I just wrote this book, The Intimacy Trust Fund, 7 Keys to Investing in Your Love. So trust is at the core of desire and arousal. All right. With trust, that is where your sex thrives. And it's also at the core of a really solid relationship. So this has so many juicy, good like tips in it, and it will definitely help you thrive in your intimacy, and I'm giving it away for free. So
Amazing.
all you have to do is go to my website,
Yes.
www.drrikkimullen.com, and you join my email list, and it will be emailed right to you. So that's the
Amazing.
Intimacy Trust
I'm
Fund.
going to do that too. Okay, so Lauren put her name in the chat. So LP Fit Lifestyle, we are going to give you a 30-minute free session with Dr. Rikki. If you can just please DM Shop Mama Soul with your email and your phone number, and we will get in touch with you and we'll go to the next steps. Congratulations, Lauren.
Yeah, I'm excited to connect.
Dr. Rikki, thank you so much. I can't, I seriously can't thank you enough. I hope we can do this again. And then if you can, if you remember the discount code for your favorite lube, Rikki Mullen, and the brand is Foria.
Yeah,
Is that right?
Foria.
Foria. Okay. Well, thank you guys. Lauren, looking forward to you getting all the goodies, and we'll talk soon,
Thank
guys.
you so
Thank you.
much.
Bye,
Bye.
guys.